Troglodytes, Gahunga, the raven-haired shaman said with a grimace. She held up a gnawed pelvic bone for the others to see. Everywhere in the stone-hewn streets, corpses lay in half-dried heaps, baking in the fading sunlight. Pity. Ardaria was a good port town, Lawu said, dismounting from her thrack. The great reptilian beast snorted, agitated by its proximity to so much death. Lawu brushed her silver hair away from her angular face. Her slitted green eyes scanned the surrounding buildings. Do we stay? Gahunga asked. She pursed her lips as her eyes darted about. The Dabara here is full of darkness. It leaches into the ground. I can taste its taint in the air. It can't be all that bad. Iman grunted and threw his leg over the side of his thrack, and landed with a grace that belied his hulking mass. His skin gleamed in the dying light. He drew a wicked two-handed scimitar and nudged open a splintered door. We can easily move on to the next city, Iman said. He lifted a bottle off the shelf and whiffed the contents before grimacing and putting it back. Or we can have a look around here. The dead have no use for gold. He nodded up the long incline of the main road, and at the summit sat a marble fortress with gilded arches. I've always wanted to visit the Sheik's palace. Well, you can stay, Iman, Lawu said. I'll have nothing to do with this place. Then we all go, Iman said, patting his old friend on the shoulder. You will not be rid of me so easily. Not until I've paid off my life debt. Lawu scoffed and rolled her slitted eyes. I've pulled your hide out of the fire too many times to count. You'll be paying this fabled life debt long after you're dead. Then I will spend a lifetime trying. I think you use that as an excuse too. But her words cut off as a disheveled black-bearded warrior burst through a broken door. He lunged, sword poised, to take off Lawu's head. I'll kill you, you monstrous swine! Lawu, with preternatural speed, sidestepped. The unknown assailant barreled forward with a series of vicious, hacking strikes. Lawu ducked, weaved, and turned into a spinning back kick, landing square in the warrior's sternum. His breath blasted out, staggering him, and the next moment Iman's gigantic foot caught him square in the shoulder, launching him hard in the side of the building. Gahunga took a leaping step and cracked the warrior's knuckles with the hilt of her staff, sending his sword clanging to the floor. With practiced ease, she popped the sword into the air and caught it. Damn you, demon! Puffed the fallen warrior, cradling broken fingers. May you burn in the deepest pits of Jahannam! He's a royal vanguard, Iman said, pointing to the shield and sword medallion buckled on the guard's chest. What happened here, vanguard? Why play stupid, you dung-covered fly? You already know. You're with her kind. He spat at their feet. Lawu's eyes took on a hard intensity, and she blurred, hoisting the guard to his feet, holding a man twice her size easily off the ground. What does that mean, her kind? Have you seen someone that looks like me? The guard took on a puzzled expression. Lawu reached into her robe and withdrew a shimmering, living gold and silver medallion. It writhed and spiraled. At its center, an eye blinked slowly. Did you see someone else wearing this medallion? Die, swine, he said. Answer me. Lawu roared. Her otherworldly eyes glowed as she shook the guard. Gouts of smoke curled out of the corners of her mouth. A Jinn, the guard gasped, putting his hands over his face. Please do not curse me, Jinn. Yes, I saw her. She came with the Dark Ones. Where? She snarled. There, at the Sheik's palace. He pointed up the hill. Without another word, Lawu dropped the guard. Lao Se, she growled, and from standing she leapt up onto her thrack and charged up the hill. Lawu, wait! Gahunga called after her. Who is Lao Se? It's her sister, Iman said, jumping up into the saddle, and gave chase. Gahunga went for her mouth when the vanguard caught her arm. Take me with you. I know the palace like the back of my hand, and if you seek vengeance, I want a part in it. You can run there. She tossed him his sword and kicked off, matching Iman's thrack. I've never seen Lawu so enraged. What did her sister do to anger her so? She never speaks on it, and I'm not one to pry. But the one person in the world she wants to kill is her sister. Why? I don't know. She said a human could never understand what was taken from her. Just ahead, spilling out of the side streets and houses, hundreds of horrid hissing bipeds screeched and rattled rusted swords, spears, and glaives. They formed ranks directly in the path of Iman and Gohunga. "Forward, bully!" Iman commanded. His thrack lowered its frilled head and exploded into the ranks of the troglodytes, sending them spinning and snarling through the air. Up ahead, Lawu dismounted at the gilded gates, and with one powerful kick, she sent the doors flying off their hinges. Inside, troglodytes formed and charged. Lawu took a deep breath and blasted a gout of flames, fanning it across their ranks. The troglodytes squealed and howled in their death rattles. Lawu stepped through the flames and glided up the stairs into the dark palace proper. The duo raced after their companion, the twisted troglodytes not far behind. "Give me some time," Gohunga shouted, dismounting, sprinting, then leaping the flames. She sat down cross-legged, her staff over her knees on the palace steps. She pulled the stopper out of a clay flask and chugged down the horrid contents. She grimaced before her eyes rolled up into her head. Iman led the mounts around the flames and stood guard over Gohunga as she twitched and spasmed. The sounds of hundreds of misshapen monsters filled the air as they poured out of the buildings in the surrounding city. Out of the palace howled a single massive troglodyte with a hooked beak and clad in black lion fur. The beast gurgled a challenge, raised his two-handed mace, and charged. Ayman drew his own blade and roared, and met the beast's charge with equal ferocity. The troglodyte army burrowed through the palace gates, bloodshot eyes searching for prey. Those in front came to a skittering halt, but found themselves toppled over into the flames, as those from behind sought blood. The unorganized mass roiled until they found their solution, and raced along the flame's edge. A terrible roar shook the palace grounds. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. All eyes on the palace. Another deafening roar, and the ground began to rumble. A palace wall exploded. A terrible tail whipped back and forth, and the air filled with choking dust. Many of the troglodytes broke and ran, but many more saw the young woman asleep on the palace steps. They howled and sprinted the rest of the way around the flames. They came face to face with a dark-skinned man. He tossed the head of their leader at their feet. They watched it roll by. Then they raised their heads and hissed. They charged the big man. Aemon took the head off another, but soon found himself on the back foot, as scores of spears and glaives sought to pierce him. "If you're going to do something, Gohunga, do it soon," he said between gritted teeth, as a glaive grazed his bicep. Gohunga floated in a void, unconcerned with the chaos around her. She mumbled to herself incoherently. Glowing smoke spilled from her lips. Her awareness sharpened, and she found the Dabara she searched for. "Forsaken citizens of Adira, souls gathered before your time, I offer you a parting gift before you are ferried away. Vengeance." Her eyes flew open, phosphorus green and empty. She gasped as smoke spilled out of her mouth and ran all along the ground in great gouts. The smoke filled the mangled corpses of the citizens. Their eyes filled with green light. They twitched and clawed at the ground and shambled to their feet. Their jaws opened in a silent scream. The troglodyte horde, eyes wide, stopped and backed away from Iman. "What? We've only just started," he said. From the steps of the palace, a corpse leapt through the air and landed upon the troglodyte horde. A palace guard shambled by Iman, sword in hand, and brought it down on top of the skull of a troglodyte. Black viscera painted its face. Another troglodyte grunted and ran his spear through the corpse. It gurgled in fear as the impaled corpse climbed up the spear and hacked at the troglodyte with abandonment. Everywhere in the city, corpses rose and attacked the troglodytes, sending them fleeing in terror. Ayman approached Gahonga with caution, where smoke still flowed out of her mouth like water from a mountain spring. When the flow finally stopped, he lifted her and carried her over and lay her beneath an almond tree. Her eyes fluttered open. "Good work," Ayman grins. I thought that a terrible screeching roar filled the air, and a river of blood rolled down the palace steps, dousing the flames. Not long after, a shape limped out of the palace corridor, painted orange in the setting sun. Lawu, Iman called, and stopped. The naked figure covered in claw marks looked just like Lawu, yet older, and her eyes, instead of green, were yellow as the sun. She looked down upon Aemon, a hand covering a wound on her side. She gasped for breath. Aemon snarled and drew his blade, but felt an arm grip his own. He turned to see Gohonga gasping. No, you cannot sense her, Dabara. She will crush you like an insect. He pulled away and turned back, but found the steps empty. She had vanished. Iman lifted Gohonga. Come, let's see the fate of Lawu. Inside, the once beautiful palace lay in rubble. The golden ceiling collapsed, and the throne lay on its side. At the base, a long, serpentine beast, the length of 10 thrak, lay dying on the ground, its entrails strewn about, blood flowing from many wounds. Hyman approached the head cautiously. The beast looked at him with green, slitted eyes, and instantly he knew it was Lawu. He knelt before his friend and stroked her cheek. Lawu, you should have waited for us, he said. She gave a deep, rattling chuckle. What would you have done? The dragon asked. With all of her remaining strength, she shoved her claw deep into her own belly and withdrew a bloody egg. Please, take it, she said. Without hesitation, Iman reached out and took the heavy egg. A life for a life, he said. Your life debt is paid. And Iman watched as the light left his old friend's eyes. He looked at the egg, and he pressed it to his ear. He heard a strong and steady heartbeat. I will watch over you, Lao Leo. Hey guys, thanks so much. This is Horse Dragon, author of Dragons and Jinn. I would appreciate it so much if you would subscribe. My goal with this channel is to post a weekly one-shot, 8 to 15 minute long stories, possible chapters if a particular story is interesting. Also, if you like the story, you have some feedback from me on my audio style, please leave a comment below. It's always appreciated. Thanks, and I hope you're having a beautiful time. Bye.